Hello everyone, BigDust is here and welcome to another video. In this video we're gonna look at a Necrotic Wake plus 21 I did earlier as a protection paladin. It's something I played since Cataclysm and well, we're at the end of season 3 more or less, so it's more alt season, and so besides playing Hunter I thoroughly enjoy playing Paladin as well, Retribution and Protection, and so in this run we're looking at a Protection Paladin run. So first off, at the start, try and pop all your cooldowns or make a big pool. As the tank you can decide how you pool, how you want to do it, and everyone has their cooldown, so I personally always prefer to pool as much as I can in the opening pool. And in Necrotic Wake it's like these 4 packs, it's pretty decent pack. Still try and focus the drain fluids. It's something that you as a paladin can easily kick with your Rebuke, but also with your Avenger Shield, so try and focus that. In this run, I recently swapped to the Dwarf, because racials, things can change, and I thought it was fun to swap it around a little bit. And I did a name change to still make it Big Dosses more or less. That way, for you guys, the viewer, it's almost the same. On the other hand though, the swap actually screwed up my UI and some of my macros because it was name bound, and so some of my macros are actually not working, which is not that great. But yeah, that shit happens. So here we make a mistake, and this is my mistake as a paladin or as a tank, because what I did, I tanked the mobs in the place where we found them. But what happened was that the paladin in our party was like slightly more towards the mobs, and that way he pulled them. If I positioned the mobs differently, then it would have been easy for the rest of the party. Here, try and kick as much as you can. I have everything running, but I am sadly I am dead. What I could have done there was used my health stone, my warlock stone, my Kyrian vial, and my health potion. If I combined those 3, then I should have survived there. On the other hand, I'm using them right now to make sure that I stay alive. And this mob is actually quite annoying. He hits like a truck. Try and kick as many necrotic bolts as you can, because you don't really want the debuff on you as well. So I try to heal everything here and try and survive. Normally I would not pull this guy, and that would have made it possible for the next pool to be bigger, because I would have had cooldowns with that. Talent wise, I am running with the Holy Shield in the first row, not the Blessed Hammer. Holy Shield is for yeah, it's one more defensive, and with your 4 set is also actually more damage as well, or about the same damage. But in the last row I'm using I think it's Divine Shield, something, the one where if you taunt or if you bubble then you actually taunt everything. I think this is when you do higher keys than you are used to, then it's actually quite nice to have that one. So here we take the Goliath, and I let the party know that I'm not doing a big pull because I do not have the CDs. As you can see, my Blessing of Kings is on cooldown. I do have my bubble taunt, but that's it. So I prefer to keep this one a little bit smaller. What I could have done here is, if I had more cooldowns, if I felt safer, more, yeah, aware of how things go. Well, not aware, that's not the right word. If I was more comfortable doing 21 keys, then I could have pulled the mobs on the top of the platform as well. I did not do that. To do that pull properly as a paladin tank, I think it's really important to have Divine Toll up, because that way you can instantly interrupt the 2 casters so they run down instead of casting Drain Fluids. Because if they do that, then you really need your DPS to make sure that they interrupt that. So here I put my little guy away. I should not have been doing that, because I can actually use him for the next pull. Luckily, almost everyone is Kyrian nowadays, so we have the little guy for the next Goliath orbs as well. So try and keep your Shield of the Righteous up as much as possible, and try and stand in Consecration as much as possible. These are, yeah, you guys know that if you are playing a Protection Paladin, if you are also, like me, playing an alt, then maybe it's not so simple, but yeah. I'm checking if the party is here, and I group them up, make sure that I use Divine Toll, and now I need to focus those 2 Harvesters to kick their Drain Fluids. So what I do, I rebuke one and I stun the other, that way they won't cast, and it makes it fairly easy. With your Avenger Shield, what you can do to increase your overall interrupts and make it a lot easier is to make sure that you focus the casters with your Avenger Shield all the time. If you start pulling mobs, try and do that. That way you always have an interrupt on them, or you just prevent them from even casting for 2 seconds, which makes it amazing. There, our Survival Hunter did what Survival Hunters do, especially when we, as a Survival Hunter, do not actually, or play like Marksman maybe, or BM as well. We are not familiar with playing in melee range. Sorry about that. When that happens, then we stand in shit. And as you can see, Morlando stood in melee shit there as well. Here I'm waiting for the Goliath to pull the orbs before I start pulling those mobs with us. Because I want the party to have the orbs up before I start running over. I should have picked my own orb up. I did not actually do that, which is not that great. The 3 little mobs on the side, I could have pulled them in here. I'm pulling them with the next pack to make it a little bit more balanced. Because as I said, I usually play, most of the time, I play Hunter. And besides that, I am still getting used to like more the higher keys on my Paladin as well. So if this is content that you guys like, then consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. I'm going to bring out more Paladin content as well. Here, as a tank, try and pull the Skeleton Marauder to one side, and as a melee DPS, try and stand behind the mobs instead of in front. Because there you could see that our beautiful Survival Hunter again died in one shot because there was a massive cleave from the Marauder which killed him. It happened to me 1,000 times, and it is happening to him in this run as well. Here I'm slowly kiting back because I want the orb, and I did not pick that one up yet, so I am kiting there. Why am I not picking it up before I pull this pack? That is because we what we did is we activated the Goliath. The activation of the Goliath helps us with like this pulsing thing, this pulsing damage. And I want that pulsing damage for as long as possible on the mobs, and that's why you pull the pack first before you grab the orb, because that's like maybe 2-3 seconds. And you can definitely use that, especially because it's mob week. The mobs just simply hit a lot harder. So yeah, these 2 really hit like a goddamn truck. So I'm holding my Ardent Defender, or my Ardent Defender is active. I do not have any tanking trinkets, so I do not have a lovely trinket from the other side, the skill. I wish I had that one. I sadly do not have that, so I'm more or less, yeah, running with full offensive trinkets at the moment. There, the Brittlebone Mage was casting a Frost Bolt Volley. The first one, I did not have an interrupt ready. So what did I do? I cast Turn Evil, because it's an undead, and then you fear it away. After that, I used my stun to interrupt it, and then I had my Avenger Shield ready, which is a silence, of course, and so I did that. Combine those together, and it's fairly easy. Now here I'm holding on to my CDs. Why is that? I want my CDs up for the next big pull. I'm planning to pull the entire next room. Well, not the entire next room, but a large portion of the room. So here we activate the Goliath because we want to, yeah, how do you say that? We want the extra damage. I have the orb, and I want to pull all the mobs so we can cleave them down effectively. And there is a route which I find personally very useful to do in this, and that is like hugging the right side wall and pulling the mobs in the center in instead of going through the middle. Again, try and throw your Avenger shield at casters, because that way they will start moving in. Here I group everything up, bubble taunt, because I want to stand still for as long as I can, and making sure that this pull goes smoothly. If I, for example, started kiting right away, then it's more difficult for the rest of the party to also do effective DPS. Here the Kyrian weapons, if you can see in the bottom right corner, did like 150k DPS and like 3.7 or 3.5 million damage in that single pull. So yeah, that's quite important. These bone carvers, tank them away from the party, because bone flay, I think it is called, is a frontal, or I think it's bone flay. Yeah, it is a frontal which really on this level fucks up your melee DPS, and yeah, we don't really want to stand here, rest again, and so that's why we tank them away. As you can see there, bone flay went off and it actually hit me for a serious amount of damage. I might be able to use the dwarven stone form to get it off me. I'm not sure, I'm not used to it, because this is like my first or maybe second run as a dwarf, and yeah, I need to get used to that. Here, try and interrupt the mages so they group up. What you can do, or what I could be doing, is maybe use my turn evil to get one of those archers, those crossbow men, to fear them away. And here the frostbolt volleys again. Try and use your kicks as effectively as you can by using your stun, your interrupt, your Avenger shield. Because as you can see here we almost wipe, because yeah, well, simply 2 volleys went off, which hits pretty damn hard. And I think there the tank or the hunter died again. I don't know exactly why, but it could be a smash. Not sure. It's good that the warlock kept on walking to already start that cinematic part. And as a paladin, being a tank is or having a rest is actually quite nice. Here, grab the orb before we do this pull. On boss week, you might want to use the orb if your DPS is very low. And now this boss, I really want to pull him in the corner. This is a bit awkward for our hunter, because our hunter threw his like resonating arrow just right off the bat. But yeah, and here I make a mistake. I do my divine toll before he summons the adds. You want to actually not do that. You want to use divine toll when the adds are summoned, because that way you grab all the mobs, all the casters, and just that makes it that much easier. Because when everything is grouped up, you can cleave them down. Now this archer we need to kill, because we do not CC it, and so before final harvest goes off, we of course need to make sure it's dead. Sorry about that. Hay fever, is that the English word? I don't know. But yeah. So now I'm holding on to my divine toll, because I realized my mistake during this pull. And again, sorry about that. I should mute my mic for this. And we keep on going. Now I use my divine toll, and suddenly all the mobs get grabbed in, and one of the mages is actually CC'd, and we do not break the CC. Because if you do not break the CC and the mob dies while CC'd, it's actually not a problem. And we kite him away from the mobs. And why is that? Because now in the next phase they are all going to explode, and so the melee have space to actually still do their DPS rotation. And the mage, as you can see, is gone right now. Because it is mob week, this boss fight is not really hard, and you do not need the orb. I do not want to use any of my cooldowns on this pull, and or not my kings at least. And my bubble taunt, I do not want to use that as well, because we're gonna go up soon, and I know that this is going to be a big pool. And in that pool, we want to use the orb, and we want to use our bubble taunt to stand still for as long as we can, and then use our kings to stand still even longer. That way our melee DPS have time to just do their burst rotation, and they don't have to run, and our range with their AoE, which they target on the surface, we stand in that. I do make mention to please interrupt. I focus the corpse collector there specifically because I do know the corpse collector is the one that is doing the casts, and I want him to run in as well. Here the orb is doing some interrupts. I try and make sure that I interrupt as well, and we try and stand still for as long as we can. And now we used our bubble taunt, we stood still for as long as we can. There we almost died. We used Ardent Defender. We are staying alive at the moment, and it is quite difficult, but we are still living. There is no real place to run besides back and forth, so that's what I'm doing. I'm not running towards the other mobs because I don't actually want to hurt them. And here I luckily have Divine Toll because I have the talent where my Avenger Shield gives me a shield, so Divine Toll gives me a decent shield, which helps me survive through this phase pretty well. Now I have 4 stacks of Tenderizer. And this is where my macro really screws me over. Because what do I want to do? I want to use my Bob, my Blessing of Protection, to remove that from me. And I have a keybind and a macro, and it's all nice and dandy. Except there is a wrong name in it. Because I did a name change as well, changing to my Paladin here. And because I did a name change, I screwed over my macro, and yeah, that is pretty shit. Watching back this, I see that I should maybe have waited for the healer to get a bit more mana, but this pool is fairly easy, and we do get so our healer gets mana back, but I should have waited with that. So yeah. Guys, if you are watching this still, and you like the content, then consider leaving a like and subscribing to my channel. It helps me out a ton. Also, if you have feedback for me, if it's in the way of playing a protection paladin, if it's in the way of how I do my explanation, all that good stuff, let me know. I can only become better at this, and I truly do want to get better at this because I thoroughly enjoy making videos for you guys. So yeah, please let me know. Also, let me know if things are going right, because that way I know what I should be doing and what I should not be doing. So yeah. On to the last pool for this part. We sadly get Woe. It actually does help me, but yeah. The Corpse Collector, try and keep throwing your Avenger Shields on that guy, and make sure that you use your interrupts on the Woe Drifter as well, because you do not want that burst to go off. And I can't really fix my macro really quickly. I don't feel I have the time. Although I have plenty of time in this run, I don't feel like I have the time. So now I have 3 stacks of the Tenderizer. I'm getting a lot of damage, so I just start running. And the melee can run as quickly as well. I use a health stone just in case. And now it's dead. Now these 2 mobs actually, I think, hurt quite a lot if you screw this, like a cleaver throw, if you screw that up a lot. But you can actually throw the cleavers, of course, in them, and then it's actually quite a lot of DPS. Now the monk is running, and I wanted to, of course, use my bubble on him, because if you, or not my bubble, my Blessing of Protection, because if you use that on one of them, on the one that they are running towards, then that person can just stand still, because it's full physical damage. And if that person can stand still, then we can still use our DPS and cleave them. So here, luckily, the Warlock blinked out, because he's focused again, so we can't use Blessing of Protection on him again. And as you can see, I'm trying to fix it, but it's all not really working that great because macros, and I should have maybe checked that beforehand. But oh well. So this pull takes a bit of time, but we all have our cooldowns for the next pull, as you can see beside the nameplates. And now we're going into the next pull. For this Gore Grind guy, of course he does the Tenderizer again, which you can actually bob off if you fix your macros, or bubble off if you want to. Gut Slice, just move out of it, because it actually leaves a nasty bleed. You can Stone Form it off, I think, and use your Kyrian vial to get it off as well, but you really don't want the damage on you, so just move out of it. Here the priest knows that I'm screwing up with this part and face tanking too much Tenderizers, so he just gripped me out, and I decided to run over towards where we are doing the next pack and make sure that I effectively just walk over there quickly and drop my Tenderizer stacks. And that is this guy. Now, this is a puck run. I do not know these guys. I've never played with them for as far as I know. So I asked earlier on which weapons we do have left. And the next boss is going to be a bit iffy. We're clearing it, but it's going to be a little bit iffy. Now on this, you want Rod Spew to not be in the center. And why is that? Because Rod Spew, his corpse leaves an aura which still damages and poisons you. Poisons you. Yeah, English, hard. So that's why I'm dragging him all the way from the center, because this is normally not really a place where you are standing as a party. So yeah, that's why I'm bringing him here, so we don't have a problem with him during the boss fight. And the poison that he throws around that just disappears at some point, so that's fine. So as you can see, the green aura around his corpse is still there. If you now walked over, then you would still, how do you say that? Still take ticking damage. For this one, it's important, get or the Woe Drifter, but I would say get because when the hook comes in, as you can see, I'm starting to run because I want to grab the away from the hook guy. And that is because otherwise he will hook then you will get two of those big guys. You don't really want that. So yeah. I do not have many cooldowns for this, so I'm counting on the party. And here I make a mistake. I am grabbing the guy. And I'm dragging Surgeon Stitch Flash out of the hook. That was my bad. I just decided, my hunter brain decided, oh, I need to dodge this shit. And so I actually dodged this shit. But I made a stupid mistake. Our healer died thanks to my stupid mistake. Luckily we have a combat res. And yeah, but now we have two of those Stitch Flash creations. And I'm asking for weapons because we're really not using them properly. And the surgeon is still very much up. Luckily, someone decided to now start blasting him with weapons to destroy this. And we kind of need that because I was dying and I did not have any defensives. My bubble was still on cooldown. My Kings was on cooldown. My Ardent Defender was on cooldown. So yeah. And now we're going to the last boss. We have plenty of time left for this guy. We wanted to use hammers, I think, on this guy to break his shield. And yeah, that is usually quite nice. But because it's mob week, it really doesn't matter all that much if you ask me. for this fight, I think, how do you say that? WoW could be nice for the DPS that go down to quickly get back up again. And in the opening part of this pool, I decided to go with the Ancient Kings. And why is that? Because this part, actually, I take the most damage. Because we have up, which breaks my armor, I think. And so I take more damage. And then we have the main guy, of course. Now is gone, so I take less damage. That's why starting with a big cooldown in a situation like this, in my mind, is actually a better idea. So here, what you can do as a Paladin is use your Blessing of Freedom? Blessing of Freedom, yeah, the movement one. When he starts to cast his bind, on my UI at least, I can see a skull icon on the person he's going to cast it on. And if I use my Blessing of Freedom on that person, the frozen bind there, you can see I do Blessing of Freedom, and then the ability is just gone. No one needs to worry about it. It's easy peasy lemon squeezing. And you can do this with every, if you cast it right on time, then your Blessing of Freedom is up for every time he is going to cast that bind. So my freedom is coming off cooldown. Here it is. And here I was too late. It was off cooldown, but I was too late. And as you can see, I did it still on the priest. But because I was too late, I am now too late for the next one as well. Because it's like exactly, I think, 25 seconds. It's almost right on the dot. So yeah. Now we just keep on damaging. There I tried to use my Blessing of Freedom on the healer, but it was still on cooldown, so that did not work. If you guys watch this video all the way to the end, then consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. I think by now you know what I do. And if you have feedback for me, and I think you will have feedback for me after this run, then let me know in the comments, and I greatly appreciate it. So we finished this boss almost off. The last shield is pretty hard to break, I can see. In a coordinated group, you can talk about everyone just moving in the same direction around the boss. That way you are safe and can easily DPS. Blessing of Freedom again on the healer. Use some heals on myself as well. And every DPS is up right now. No one is down, and so we easily break the shield. And here I saw the other Paladin do it, and actually a great idea. Just bubble taunt this last part, and I could have stamped closer to it. So I upgraded this key from a +15 to a +21, so that was actually quite a nice upgrade. What I like to track as a Paladin is, of course, the healing that I do, the interrupts, because I think a lot of runs can be a lot easier if you interrupt often. It just makes the damage intakes so much easier. But guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.